Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the more popular third-party Pro Controller options for the Nintendo Switch, and that's the Enhanced Wireless Controller from PowerA. And real quick, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on everything happening with the channel. And with that out of the way, let's take a look. Now, I know we've done quite a few controller reviews on the channel, and I've also reviewed other PowerA controllers, but I realized that I'd only reviewed their Fusion controller, which is kind of their premium elite controller option, and then also their Nano Enhanced Wireless Controller, which is a kind of 2/3 size smaller version of the Pro Controller. And I realized that I'd never really just given my thoughts on the standard model here and wanted to go over a few things. I know probably some people will be picking up controllers with the holidays coming up, and maybe this will help you decide if it's a good buy or not. So I have one of the latest models here with this Zelda Blood Moon design, and there have also been a few design changes over the years from, the standard enhanced wireless controller that PowerA used to make. Very close in design, but there's been a few key changes, so I wanted to go over those as well. And I've already opened this box up here, but I do like that it has this magnetic flap on the front here, so you can take a look at the controller before you buy it. I've got some text here letting you know everything that's going on. Take a look at the back real quick. And yeah, let's take it out of the box. So in the box here, you'll get a manual and a USB A to C cable for charging or playing in wired mode. And then of course, the controller itself. And let's take a look at it. It's got a really nice design, and there's the back. I guess first let's talk about kind of some of the differences here in features with the regular standard Pro Controller. So PowerA is one of the few third-party companies to have their controllers officially licensed by Nintendo. I think the big ones are PowerA, Hori, and PDP, I think. So hopefully that should reassure you a little bit as far as quality goes. Nintendo doesn't just slap their seal of quality on anything, although I do think it used to mean a little more than it does today, but I'd say for the most part, PowerA's controllers are completely quality and work really well. And I want to get this out of the way first thing. We've kind of talked about it in other videos with PowerA products, but with their Pro Controllers, for the Switch specifically, none of them feature rumble, which is a little odd because PowerA's other controllers for Xbox or PlayStation do, so it really leads me to believe that the omission of rumble from these controllers isn't a choice from PowerA. I believe it's actually part of the stipulation with getting the official licensing from Nintendo that for whatever reason, Nintendo doesn't want a third-party competitor to feature rumble in their controllers, or maybe they need them to feature HD rumble, and maybe that's too expensive of licensing for PowerA to take on, so I'm not really sure, but that does seem to be a decision on Nintendo's part, and it's the same thing with Hori and PDP. They're officially licensed Switch controllers never feature rumble either, so I think that tells you right there this is one of those classic weird Nintendo decisions. And these controllers won't feature NFC support for Amiibo either. So those are two kind of key features that you'll be missing out on, but these controllers do come in at a fairly decent reduction in price over Nintendo's official Pro Controller, and I do believe PowerA has raised the price slightly of their enhanced wireless line. These used to be $49.99, but they are now around $54.99, where Nintendo's official Pro Controller typically goes for around $69.99. So, somewhere in the range of saving $15 by going with one of these controllers. But I do want to talk about some of the changes that have come along that probably spurred that slight price increase from PowerA. And probably the biggest one is the fact that their controllers are now rechargeable. They used to require 2 AA batteries. That's something I never really enjoy messing with controllers. It's just like another thing to worry about. Batteries are pretty expensive. I would so much rather just throw it on a charger when I'm done and not really worry about it. So I do think that is a big improvement from PowerA. that these are now rechargeable with standard USB-C. On the box, they say you'll get around 30 hours of playtime, which is definitely a little less than the standard Pro Controller, but I think a totally reasonable amount of time. I can't remember the last time I played for 30 hours straight, so should be plenty to get you by. And then another slight design change that kind of goes under the radar, they do feature it on the back of the box, but when the Fusion Pro Controller came out, the more premium option, one of the things they talked about were the anti-friction rings that have been added around the analog sticks. And when I first heard about those, I was certain that it was just kind of marketing gimmick stuff, that I really wouldn't notice the difference. But I was really surprised that it actually does feel quite a bit better than it used to. You would feel a little bit of drag when rotating the sticks kind of at full tilt here. And you do even feel that a little bit with Nintendo's standard Pro Controller. It's totally normal, it's not a big deal, but these kind of glossy plastic rings really do make for very smooth movement. So I think that's really nice that they're now including those on the standard line of enhanced wireless controllers. So with rechargeable functionality and those anti-friction rings, it does feel like a slightly more premium option than before. But then another feature that has been there since the beginning of the enhanced wireless line is the mappable paddles on the back, which are super simple to use. You just press and hold this button here until you see that LED start blinking, and then you press the button that you want assigned, and then it'll start blinking faster, and then you simply select which trigger you want that button assigned to, and press the trigger, and there you're good to go. So it is nice that, you know, you're saving some money and you are getting an extra feature there, even though a couple features have been removed. The mappable triggers, it's not something I use a ton, but there are a few games where it has come in handy. I typically think of something like a first-person shooter where maybe you want to map like the jump button to one of the paddles so you don't have to take your hand off one of the sticks to hit the button. I definitely use some paddle mapping in Monster Hunter Rise as well. And I have found that the mapping does retain itself even after powering the controller off and powering the Switch off, so that's nice that you don't have to do it every single time. I'm not sure how long that would stay. I imagine if the battery ran down all the way, you'd probably lose it and have to remap it, but definitely not a big deal. And another kind of quirky thing that happens with some third-party Switch controllers is they seem to have the inability to wake the Switch up from sleep mode, but you don't have to worry about that with PowerA's controllers. Pressing the home button here while the Switch is asleep wakes it up just like normal. So that's nice as well. And then aside from that, one of the other benefits you're getting from these PowerA controllers is really cool custom artwork. Definitely a little more creative and a little more inspired than some of the Pro Controller designs we get from Nintendo. There's only been a few of those, you know, and they maybe change like the grip colors and add a little bit of decal to the front there. And PowerA has tons of design options to choose from to match pretty much any game you might be a fan of. You know, they have all sorts of Pokemon ones, Mario ones, Zelda, Donkey Kong, quite a few from Nintendo's properties. And then as far as overall feel goes, they do feel very similar in shape and feel to the official Pro Controller. I do feel like the grips are just a little bit thicker, like you've got a little bit more to hold on to. Definitely still very comfortable. The sticks feel really good, especially now that those anti-friction rings are added. And the D-pad is pretty nice as well. It has a little bit of a rocker in the middle to prevent you pressing it straight down. I'd maybe prefer just like a little bit more resistance, but pretty solid D-pad overall. And all the buttons feel really good as well. Triggers feel nice. I've never been a huge fan of PowerA's trigger design on the ZL and ZR here, kind of having these like triangular, almost like cat ear shapes. They work totally fine, but they are a little smaller than the standard Switch Pro Controller. And sometimes I just feel that pointed edge there a little bit. It's not uncomfortable really, it's just I'd probably prefer the design of the regular Switch Pro Controller over these, but otherwise they're totally good. And one thing I've seen come up quite a bit in the comment section when I review PowerA controllers is people asking about stick drift. Seems to be something that's on everyone's mind when it comes to Nintendo controllers, understandably, because there does seem to be quite a few problems with people experiencing that with the Joy-Con. And then I have heard some people say they've experienced it with the PowerA controllers as well, even after a few weeks of use. And I've built up quite a collection of these PowerA controllers over the years, and I've never experienced drift on any of them. But keep in mind, I've also never experienced it on any of my Joy-Con, I think except for one individual that kind of had it out of the box and I ended up sending it back in for repair. So maybe I'm a little gentler on my sticks than some people are, and that could be a factor, or I do keep my stuff really clean. Who knows, but you know, I'm not discounting the people who've said they've experienced it with theirs, but it's never been a problem for me, so I guess your mileage may vary when it comes to stuff like that. So I guess overall, do I think these controllers are worth picking up? Well, I think that kind of depends on what exactly you're looking for. For me, lacking rumble is definitely a big letdown. I really enjoy it in the games that feature it. But if you are looking to save a little bit of money, you don't feel like paying $70 for Nintendo's official controller, I do think these are top of the line when it comes to, you know, maybe like a budget option. They feature really solid artwork. I love this one. It has just a really cool look to it, a lot of nice details. And maybe if you're a collector or kind of setting up a game room, I do think these just kind of make for a great shelf piece as well. Definitely a little pricey if that's the only thing you're planning on doing with it, but these do look really nice on display. Oh, and I forgot to mention, PowerA's enhanced wireless controllers do feature motion controls. So you're missing out on rumble and amiibo support, but motion is there. And it's tough to tell. It's really a slight difference, but it does seem like the motion has gotten a little bit truer to Nintendo's official Pro controllers. I feel like the early versions of these, the battery powered versions, the motion felt just a little bit twitchier than with the official Pro controller, but using this and testing it out in like Splatoon really felt identical to the official Pro controller in terms of motion. So maybe that's been improved, maybe it hasn't, but either way, it's totally functional and will definitely get you by. And yeah, I don't think there's a ton more to say. I think these are really comfortable, really cool looking controllers. You're saving a decent amount of money by going with one of these options, but you are missing out on a few key features. So ultimately, as I often say, I really think it's just going to be a personal preference whether or not missing out on rumble and amiibo support is crucial to you. And if not, if you're someone who really doesn't care about rumble, I think these designs are really great, and otherwise it's a really great feeling controller. So I'll leave a link down in the description to PowerA's site if you want to check out some of these enhanced wireless controllers for yourself. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever used one of these, how you like it, maybe which design is your favorite. And I think that's going to do it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like on your way out and also consider subscribing. And until the next video, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.